We are expecting a ring of fire pattern once again next week. We have been in the stubborn ring of fire pattern over the last few months, and we're expecting it to be over these same areas again next week in the Corn Belt region. We are expecting a ridge. As you look at this middle of the height pattern, we are expecting a ridge to develop in the southern portions of the country down here area, and then you will actually get some troughing over the northwest portions of the country. I have talked about this in previous videos. Having this troughing over here and this ridging over here further south, this will lead to a very active pattern with more of a southwest flow, you would say, or more of a potentially a split flow at times. So we're not expecting a northwest flow with this type of pattern, but it will be active over. It will still be active with a less chance of damaging wind events, but more chances of maybe tornadoes and large hail and all that. But as you can see by these isobars, you can see it goes down here. It kind of dips down in the western portions of the country. Then it will push up as you move east into the Midwest. The active track will be on the northern edge of this ridge, and we will dive deeper into that as we get further into the video. We're taking a look at the winds and the mid levels of the atmosphere as we push into next week. You can see a couple of troughs, shortwave troughs. Either way, a belt of decent mid-level flow at times will push through next week, and this will bring chances for thunderstorms and severe weather. Several days of thunderstorms and severe weather chances. We are expecting like training shortwave troughs, like what we've been dealing with in the last ring of fire pattern, but it will still be active with a few days next week of severe weather and thunderstorms, probably into the overnight hours as well. But we will definitely have quite a bit of ingredients in place for severe weather as well. As we get deeper into next week, into next weekend, it looks like we may be able to get a large-scale trough push east into the northern plains. As we get to next weekend, we have been seeing models showing this for a few days now, so it's very possible because when you get that troughing in the northwest portion of the country, you will usually get a pretty big trough to eject eastward or northeastward into the northern plains about a week or so later as it pushes eastward. So kind of a pretty unique upper air pattern that we're starting to get into September. That will probably lead to more of a fall-like pattern as we move to the middle to end of September as well. But you can see this large-scale trough pushes eastward to the Midwest, but we just have continued decently strong mid-level flow with a polar jet really involved into this as well as we get to the first half of September. So again, a pretty interesting pattern ahead over the coming weeks or so. We will also have plenty of lower moisture in place next week with dew points well into the 70s, 60s, and 70s dew points in the Midwest next week. We will still have some corn sweat in place in the Corn Belt region that may push dew points up to about 80 degrees at times. So again, a very warm week, a very warm and humid week again next week. That will bring chances for thunderstorms and weather as well. A couple of days there will be capping in place, so I will not be surprised if there's a couple of dry days next week. Because of capping, you will have not much forcing because of no shortwave or system pushing into the plains. But again, pretty high low moisture still in place as we push into early September. Looking at storm fuel as we begin to next week, we have pretty high storm fuel in place, also known as CAPE, in place in the Midwest next week as well. This is next Monday. Ahead of a cold front, we will have a pretty favorable air mass in place. We may be able to get some severe weather with this as well. Ahead of the cold front, it depends just if you're getting enough forcing to be in place. But either way, throughout next week, even if there's capping or not, no matter what, we will have quite a bit of storm fuel in place. So as long as this cap can break on the edge of this ridge in the Corn Belt region, we will have pretty high storm fuel, and that will lead to long-lived, potentially intense severe thunderstorms throughout next week. As well, with a very broad warm sector over the Midwest too. So again, definitely quite a bit of a favorable pattern for severe weather next week. And even if you don't get a lot of severe weather next week, there will definitely be several complexes of thunderstorms or just I guess scattered thunderstorms as well throughout next week. That will bring quite a bit more rainfall for the Corn Belt region. It looks like the upper Midwest will probably not get into this too much. It looks like be more in the Corn Belt region, which has already had a lot of rain this year. So pretty interesting look there. But tonight we will have a complex of thunderstorms push through the Corn Belt as well, or at least portions of I-80 corridor Tonight, this is a look at about 4 a.m. until tomorrow morning. We see, a pretty broad area of showers and thunderstorms pushing through southern Minnesota and western Wisconsin at this time, but also pushing further south down to Iowa. This was a model run before it had the complex pushing further south into Iowa. So again, there will be some beneficial rain as you get further north into Wisconsin as well. Rainfall totals look to be up to about an inch or so. You may be able to get isolated amounts up to an inch and a half, but most areas will be around an inch or less for rainfall with tonight and tomorrow's cluster. But this is a pretty long-lived cluster. I guess area of showers and thunderstorms, a system you want to say. Tomorrow it is also moving pretty slowly, and then you get the chance of forced weather tomorrow evening in the plains. Where you get the trough, that first trough begins to eject into the plains later this weekend. That will allow for some chances of forced weather into the plains areas. But as we move into Sunday morning, you may be able to get some isolated showers and thunderstorms with it, but again, not no complexes of thunderstorms we're expecting in this pattern coming up. It appears the events for weather will more likely be about scattered, I guess you would say, for thunderstorms. Also, if you haven't yet, please make sure you follow me on X as well. I make a lot of updates on X, and also if you want to order merch, click the merch store link on Facebook or X, and look at all the merch. It does support me a lot, more than you know, and the prices are very cheap. I try to make it as cheap as possible. Now taking a look at the heat for next week as well. Again, it will be humid, but temperatures will also be about 10 to as much as 15 to 20 degrees above average at times in the Midwest and southern portions of the country. That is because we have that broad ridge. Even though it won't be a very strong ridge, we will have a broad ridge in place, especially further south, and that will bring in pretty warm temperatures throughout next week time frame. Several days of heat expected next week. But as this trough from the northwest begins to push further east, that large-scale trough into next weekend, if that does materialize, that would likely bring a pretty big cool air mass, I guess, if you want to say, over the northern plains in the Midwest states as we move deeper into next week. This model does have that happening still as we push into next weekend. Again, as that trough ejects east, usually this time of the year, it does bring a pretty strong cold front, and that will bring a large area of below average temperatures for more than one day as well. This looks to last for multiple days if this trough can actually push further east into the Midwest and bring in that strong cold front with. So fall is around the corner. We are seeing signs of fall, but we are still, I think, 2 to 3 weeks out from fall yet. Now this is a different model for the same time frame. It does also have that trough ejecting into the plains next week or later next week, bringing them pretty, a few days of below average temperatures through the Midwest and the Great Lakes region as well later next week. But again, these are just operational models. They will change daily, twice a day, 3 times a day, 4 times a day, daily. But it is signs at least. If you look at the ensemble, the European ensemble for the same time frame, it will have a warm bias, so it will look pretty warm. But compared to the previous model run, it is trending quarter and quarter for later next week. So again, I do think that we will have a decent cooldown. It will be short-lived, only 2 to 3 days. So you might not notice too much as we get to later next week. So it will be very warm up until then, but we will get relief just about a week later. We start getting this fall cold fronts finally push into the region.